Welcome, everyone. It's Annalena here, back for another episode of the Art of Slowing Down podcast. As always, I'm very excited to be with you all. Today, it's just going to be me. It's another solo episode because there's one topic that has been coming up a lot and again and very loudly that I have felt it's really time for me to talk more about this on the podcast. So what is this? It's about human design, it's about Gene Keys, it's about astrology, and it's about the topic of tropical human design versus sidereal and also true sidereal human design. So when I learned human design and I studied with Karen Parker, I think it was now over 4 years ago when I got into it. And it's all tropical human design, right? So it's based on the tropical Western astrology, basically. And one of the things that is being said, and I have to say, I'm not an expert astrologer. This is what I have read and studied and learned, from other people through doing my research. And that the Western astrology, the tropical, doesn't really take into account for the precession of the equinoxes. So it's in a way a simplified version of what's happening in the sky. So it's not really representing what's happening in the sky, basically. Which if you think about it, it's a little bit off, right? Because we're like, this is when you were born and this is what was in the sky, but it really wasn't. And I was like, okay. But anyways, I have to say that when I first pulled my human design chart, as you guys know, 2-4 manifesting generator, and this has changed my life. Seriously, it has. It has been the biggest blessing ever. And also learning everything about human design has been such an amazing journey. And if you have been following me for a while now, you also know that I have noticed that many, many times people feel often very limited by their human design, and they're saying things like, well, because I don't have this line, I cannot do this, or because I'm this type, I shouldn't be doing this. And I really get goosebumps, but like in a kind of shivers way, like, not like excited goosebumps, kind of like, no, this is not what it's meant to be. Because the only purpose that human design has, in a very simplified way for me, that I have learned over the years, is to help you trust yourself, not to tell you what you should not be or should not do. So that's when I started to become a little bit like, okay. And there was a lot of like, okay, we are this type, we're better than the other ones. And I don't like that at any way or form, because human design is here to bring us together and see our beauty and uniqueness, that we all have, but not to separate us or create some hierarchy where one type is above the other ones and stuff like that. So that really is a talk that really turns me off. And anywhere where I've seen this, I have just started to unfollow people, because I want to teach and talk about human design in a way that it's empowering and helping you give yourself fully permission who you are, have complete freedom who you are. And so I also really appreciate Karen Parker, for example, because she has always taught me that you have all of the chart, because people, again, get so caught up. Well, I don't have the money channel, so I'm screwed. I cannot make money. And I'm like, well, no, that's not the case. There are people that have the money channel and they have a lot of problems with money, and vice versa. And there are people that are millionaires that don't have any of the money gates or channels defined, And that's why I have always put such a strong emphasis on what's defined simply means you have consistent access to these energies. That's how it's coming from within yourself. And what's undefined, you take it on from other people, but you also learn it. And all the energies are important for us. Now then, over time, I got a lot deeper into the Gene Keys, as you may know already. And what I love in the Gene Keys is there are no types, right? We don't have the 5 types like we have in human design. And as I have studied and contemplated the Gene Keys now for several years, and I have been absolutely loving it, and especially contemplating and facing these shadows has been so extremely transformative for me. Also has been a little bit of a challenge and hard, but what is life without a challenge? We're gonna get bored, right? Because we grow so much from all the challenges that come our way, and even struggles. It's like we can turn this into magic and wisdom. So at the end of the Pearl sequence, Richard Rudd actually says, and the joke of all is that you will realize that all of the 64 gene keys are relevant to all of us. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Because that's what I have felt in my core and my being. And throughout my entire human design journey and Gene Keys journey, again, this is something, if you have been in my world for a little while, you may know this. I started to talk about these 64 gates over the course of the entire year. Every week I talked about it, I shared about it. I even created energy healing, infinity healing sessions with that, because I had such a deep interest to learn these 64 archetypal energies, which in human design, we call them gates. And in the Gene Keys, we call it Gene Keys. And in the I Ching, it's the 64 hexagrams. But in essence, it's all the same. It's just worded and explained and expressed in a different way. And for me, these 64 archetypal energies simply explain how the universe works. So if I see people that are really in their essence, I feel like they're fully embodying their purpose, they come from full integrity. And I even work with some coaches right now myself, and they don't even know anything about human design, but they live by these principles that you will eventually find in those 64 gene keys, in those 64 gates and hexagrams. So now my Annalena philosophy, or the way of how I see things is that the tropical human design was necessary for us to, or for me, because my body was pulled to tropical human design in the beginning. That's all I knew. I didn't even knew about Sidereal, and then I heard about it, but for years I knew about it, but I was kind of like, I'm not interested in it. My body was not vibing at that frequency, if that makes sense. And now that I have looked at my true Sidereal, and in a little bit, I will also share some graphics. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, maybe you want to hop over onto YouTube and follow there, but you can also follow me just listening as well. But what I want to say is that my tropical human design, I identified more with the shadows in a way, and this was necessary, I think. But also, there were a couple of things that I wasn't even aware of that I still also put a limitation on myself. And again, I see this with other people, and I wasn't even aware that I was doing it perhaps a little bit myself. Now that I saw my true sidereal human design chart, which is, by the way, called Cosmic Human Design, and here, now all of a sudden, I'm a 5-1 generator. I have a head and ajna defined. I have a root defined. And one of the things that really struck me was that here I could much more identify with the gifts. And a very funny thing is that the majority of people that I have been attracting over the last few years are 5-1 profiles, like literally over and over again. And also now having new incarnation cross. And exactly that incarnation cross has been people that have been attracting. So I know these energies so well. And I have seen other people so much in their shadow that somehow through this awareness, it has already helped me, because I've been teaching it and sharing with people what the gift is so much. And now it's almost like a magical miracle for me that I'm ready for it. And I think without the tropical human design, because that somehow activated something within me. And now the sidereal human design activates the next level, because everything is about the 64 gates, the 64 gene keys. It's just, I think, through our tropical first, and then sidereal or true sidereal human design, we get activated into the gene keys. So these are our access point in some way to really grasp the full spectrum of all of them, because we all have all the 64 gene keys in our DNA. So now I will share a little bit more also, because I have done over the last few weeks a lot of research. And I mean, I had to look into this because I didn't want to just talk about it without not knowing what I'm talking about, obviously, right? So I started to watch a bunch of YouTube channels, myself, YouTube videos and stuff, and got really curious. And then I was like, okay, this now all makes sense. So here's what I have discovered. And there is a website called masteringthezodiac.com, which is by Ethan Chimenti. I hope I say his name correct. He's been around for a really long time. And here you can go on there and pull your astrology birth chart, right? So I did that. And this is honestly the first time where I pulled an astrology chart where I was like, okay, all of it. There was not even one thing where I felt like, maybe, or, and I had a lot with tropical human design, while in essence, most of it I really resonated with, but there were a couple of things where I felt I was in the shadow and I was trying to be different just to fit what my human design was saying, if that makes sense. Also, it makes me really aware of like how easily we can still get conditioned by a system like this, right? So this is a quote literally from the website when you go on there, the Mastering the Zodiac. This calculator uses the actual constellations in the sky. It uses the midpoint between constellations as assigned boundaries. This is different from other forms of sidereal astrology. For example, Vedic and IAU do not use the true size of the constellations along the ecliptic. This calculator is essentially a planetarium in astrology chart form, accurate within 1 degree for birth dates within the past 100 years. And it just feels like reading it, it feels like truth to me. And this is also one thing that I noticed has been such a gift from human design in general, if it's tropical, sidereal, whatsoever, that I have so much learned to listen to my body. And I feel just really pulled. It's the most light, expansive sensation I have felt in a really long time. And again, you can start here and pull your astrology chart and just see how it feels, you know? And if it doesn't feel like you want to look it up at all, then leave it. I mean, in astrology, we have so many. I mean, there's a gazillion different ways of how your natal chart can look like. That's also why I often got so overwhelmed with astrology. And I was like, yeah, just screw this. But the reality, astrology is part of human design, and it just uses one way of astrology. And this particular astrology uses something called true sidereal, which is different from most of the other sidereals, just like it was explained here. Now, then I learned there is this website also, Cosmic Human Design. I've known about it for a little while already, but I wasn't too much interested in it until more recently. So the person that created Cosmic Human Design, his name is Richard Mason. He also has a YouTube channel and he talks a lot there about this. And his story was also, from what I was reading, a little bit like there were a couple of things where he was kind of telling himself he was this type, or his girlfriend or partner was this type, even though deep inside he thought she's a different type. I think it was like she's a reflector or something, but they were trying to pretend she's a projector. So anyways, he eventually also, I think, found the Mastering the Zodiac, because through one of his videos, I learned about the Mastering the Zodiac. That's how it goes, right? And then, because he's also a very smart person, I think he graduated from Yale University. And so he's all into programming and all the techie stuff, things that I probably will never be able to do in this lifetime, but that's okay. So I'm very grateful for him. And he now put this true sidereal astrology, which you can find in Mastering the Zodiac, into the human design. And if you go into his website, you can there pull your chart. And I have a couple more slides here. So this, as you know, you may have seen this before, this is my tropical human design chart. Like I said, I'm a 2-4 manifesting generator. Conscious sun is the 13, right angle cross of the Sphinx, and many more things. So now this is my cosmic human design chart. And now I'm a 5-1 generator, and I have an undefined throat center, undefined will center, still undefined solar plexus, but I have a defined root and I have a defined head and ajna. And I think I will do another episode about actually comparing my two charts and giving you some insights of how I feel about certain things, because it's really, really beautiful and very insightful. And I even feel like there's a story with both charts and how they help me really, yeah, trust myself even at a deeper level. Because like I said, there were some things in the tropical human design where I, yeah, in a way, stopped doing something that I was naturally doing because I always got this message of like, well, you're being in your not self. So very interesting. And one of the things, and especially that's the one thing I think I want to do mention, people always tell me, Annalena, you're so calm, you're so grounding. Just being in your presence, I already calm down. And this is something I get over and over again. And in an astrology reading a little while ago, I got the message like, because in that chart, I was all air signs, like almost everything air signs. It's about very airy, right? kind of energy and not grounding at all. So it was like, whoa, it's probably your not self. And I was like, really? But everybody tells me like I'm calm and grounding, and that's how I come across. And that's also how I feel. So I started to tell myself, like, I shouldn't be this way, to be honest, you know? And now in the true sidereal, I'm a Capricorn. And this grand trine that was all in air signs before is now all earth signs. So everything is now shifted into earth signs for me. Now I have a defined root. And wow, this is so much more than I thought who I was, right? So in a way, I'm now realizing that we can so easily tell ourselves we are conditioned and condition ourselves with that. You see what I'm saying? But I think there's also a reason, like sometimes we have to learn it the wrong way to know how it really works. Does that make sense? You know, we have to make mistakes and learn. And I find this all a beautiful blessing because also, I mean, human design, after all, is all an experiment. And like I said, obviously, I still have a lot of similarities in my chart, but for many people, they're totally changed from defined cycle to undefined cycle. So many projectors are now generators or manifesting generators, right? And I do understand for some people that can be a little bit of an identity crisis because I think so many of us, we have way too much identified with that one type. And remember, human design is not here to put you into a box. It's never here to tell you what you cannot do or should not do. It's here to give yourself permission and the freedom to be yourself unapologetically. And also for me, as you know, to learn all these 64 archetypal energies, that's really what everything for me is about. And obviously now with the cosmic human design chart, my Gene Keys profile is going to look totally different as well, right? And one thing that I love is that my incarnation cross is now the left angle cross of individualism, which is all about being yourself, having the freedom to be yourself, that's what I do, right? I help people with that, with human design, with Gene Keys, and do your thing and stop listening to what everybody else is saying. Also, in this chart, there's a lot of gate 6 energy now, which I always have been saying I'm a recovering people pleaser, and it's now through a different energy, right? It's gate 6 now, and before it was more my 4 line, the fear of rejection I have talked about, and that's also now in the 6 line. So again, there's lots of similarities. But like I said, I think I will go into more of all these details in another episode. This is more right now for you to share what's been happening for me on my journey with human design and Gene Keys and all of that good stuff. And I continue to love it. I find it so fascinating. And especially because I'm so happy that I have been seeing human design always in an expansive way and always through the lens of the 64 gates and Gene Keys, and never through this like, oh, I don't have this, I can't do this, right? It's more like, no, we have it all. It's just that whatever is defined, whatever you have activated in your chart, that what gives you access to all the other energies as well. And so I find this more of a blessing. And also I have now, you can also pull this up in Genetic Matrix. I'm not going to explain right now how to do it because you have to make some manual adjustments that I just found out about yesterday through Alex, and she knew a person that is into the true Sidereal, and I want to also give the correct credits. But I can do this now. So if I work with clients, if we do have a reading, then I will also now be able in Genetic Matrix to pull your true Sidereal chart as well. And as you can see here, right, I'm a 5-1 generator with the sacred authority. So It's very, very interesting. And I had lots and lots of people from you reach out to me because I have started to share about this in the Conscious Money Collective because it just came up in the call there. That's a membership I have. We do all things human design, gene keys, and money in there. It's amazing, life-changing if you take it seriously and show up for yourself and ask questions, right? And people have been reaching out to me and telling me like, oh my God, I have been having the same experience. I have had Sidereal come up over and over again. And this is the thing with human design that I have learned, that we are here to respond to life, no matter what your type is. And if something keeps showing up over and over again in your awareness, it's in some way the universe is like, hey, hello, are you seeing me? This is for you, right? It's kind of like, this is where you're supposed to be going. And then I have to really pay attention to how it feels in my body. And everything so far with this cosmic human design sidereal has been feeling so truthful, like it clear, like next level expansion. And obviously the only few times where I've noticed like, I don't know if there's a, when you post something on social media or wherever, there's always going to be a few people that are going to be like, well, I can prove you this is completely wrong, or I know, blah, 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 and it's not the case, right? And I mean, look, you will always have this. And then again, this is more me than getting into the head and people pleasing again. Oh, this person probably knows more than I do. But what I'm sharing here with you is how this feels in my body. I don't have proof for anything. I'm only interested that you live the most happiest, fulfilled life. And if this helps you, then that's absolutely amazing. And if it doesn't help you, then I would honestly leave it and not even look at it. So I will also now work with this with my private clients if they're open and interested to that, obviously. And also, as I'm about to launch another course in just a few days, it's called the Easy Podcast launch. I have also decided that I will offer all the people that are part of this course that we can look at both the tropical and the cosmic human design, at least some elements of it. Obviously, I cannot do a full reading for everybody, but for those of you that are going to be interested, you will have the option for me to also get some insights on the cosmic human design as well, because look, there's a reason this has been coming up in my world so strongly. It's just exactly like it was 4 years ago when human design showed up in my world, and then eventually was the gene keys. So I'm just following along the path, and I'm sharing what feels right and truthful for me, and also obviously to inspire you. And going also back to my initial teacher, Karen Parker, I think she actually at some point also did a video, and she said like she particularly didn't resonate with sidereal, but she was like, no, you do whatever you want. And that's what I love about her. She was always like, you do your thing and you use what works for you, and what doesn't, leave it. And she even said in there, no, if you want to do human design with sidereal, you go do that, right? Because also we have to think about this, things always change and evolve. Like when Ra shared about human design in 1987, when he channeled it, that's a long time ago, you know? It's gonna be almost 40 years, because 2027 is 3 years, so it's like 37 years, right? And things have changed since then. We are evolving. We are always looking for improvements and making things better and even more accurate. And for me, there's not even a question. It's what's truly happening in the sky, versus the tropical system is something fixed that happened like 2000 years ago. And since then, all the changes that have been happening are not taken into account. So when you pull your chart on your birthday, it's off. It's not what's truly in the sky. It's kind of shifted in a little bit. So my question, or what I'm wondering, is for myself, okay, so the tropical is more like the 3D, is like a little bit the conditioned way, what society wants us to be or how we should be. And then the cosmic or true sidereal human design is your true soul's calling, is the cosmic way of the universe, right? Is the 5D, what we often talk about. And I do believe that the 3D needs to happen so we're grounded in it and we can actually fully tap into the 5D, into the cosmic. And, this may sound a little bit of woo, but I know if you guys have been in my world for a little bit, we're pretty much on the same page. And again, so far, the resonance I have been receiving has been incredible, supportive. And actually, you guys have been asking me, hey, can you talk more about this? I'm really interested into it. And again, look at it from a place of curiosity, see what resonates, see what doesn't resonate, and just feel into your body. And if you're interested, I will probably sometime next week, I'm going to also start announcing it's my birthday month in February. So I'm going to run some specials again, and I'm going to include now the cosmic human design or true sidereal human design with that. So if anybody's interested, be on the lookout for that. And Easy Podcast launch, like I said, is taking off in just 2 days on January 25th. The very last day to sign up is going to be February 1st. So if you sign up more around that time, you will get right away access to the first replay. And it's going to be a 12-week journey where we're going to do all things podcasting. So you can also show up on your podcast more consistently and build the habit, plus get to know yourself at a deeper level through the lens of your human design and also a little bit of your cosmic or true sidereal human design. So I'm very excited for that. Thank you for listening. This was a very honestly unplanned episode, and I actually had a photo shoot today, hence the beautiful makeup. And I already had a podcast episode recorded, but as I was like unpacking my stuff, I was like, no, I have to talk about this. I cannot wait longer. People want to know about this. People are ready for this. And so here I'm sitting late Monday night doing this for you. May it serve you. May it improve your life. May it give yourself the freedom to be yourself more unapologetically and love yourself at an even deeper level. I love you very much. Thank you for listening. And as always, I'm very excited to be with you on the next episode.